There's a lot of them are open.
Are they?
My brother told me he's going into yeshiva every day. He's in a fee. Yeah. So I asked him why he's doing that. He's like, well, everyone's sitting apart from each other. I said, so why don't you just learn at your home if you're doing that?
Yaakov, you're blank.
I know, because I'm reading off I don't have my iPad on me, so I'm reading off the Chazara from yesterday.
Did you get that, what's it called I sent you?
Just now, yeah. Sugar.
What a bunch of son of.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, Amud Beis on Yudal and Amud Beis started with full yain that it's a deraisa, and then food becoming tummy from liquid and utensils coming from liquid that it's a deraisa. And then we had a whole diyun who made the gezerah that hands are tummy. It was it Shlomo Melech, was it Shammai Hillel, was it Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel? 3 disagreements. And then Tes Vav Amud Aleph had the three different disagreements between Shammai and Hillel. And then we discussed who made the gezerah of glass and on any land outside of Eretz Yisrael, which Akiva forgot to look at the Tosfos to go through it, so I apologize. And then we continue, and then now we start with glass, which is actually glass actually has a lot halacha l'maisa, because do you have to toivel glass, which we'll tie that into
Coughing.
What?
Who's coughing like that? They should get it checked out.
Yeah.
Not me, parrots.
Hey, Liner got in there. I'll come down there and shoot it myself.
I'm
sound.
Thank you.
Anyways, the glass is halacha l'maisa
Not me.
because we got a toivel glass. You have to toivel glass, which comes from this sugi a little bit. And it's a corona shaila because a lot of places have closed down their kelim mikva, which in Farakui they have not closed down the kelim mikva.
Just use the ocean.
What?
They use the ocean. Big deal.
You could use the ocean. Yes, that is true. But the kelim mikva is fine to use.
Amen.
Or are you endorsing plastic right now with that drink you just took, Rabbi Soin?
Endorsing plastic? Is there something wrong with plastic?
No, I'm saying you went from Kalim Mikvah to being a brach on a plastic cup.
I always use plastic cups, but you thank you for reminding me, because keep in mind through this sugya whether you should have to toivel plastic, because if you analyze the sugya, the chayri you should have to toivel plastic, but we'll discuss it as we go along. Okay, so 2 dots on Tes Vav Amud Beis. Kli zchuches, my time it goes over Rabban and tumah. Why do Chachamim geyser tumah on glass? Right, as everybody knows, glass is made from sand. Right? So since this glass comes from sand, and what's a kli cheres? Earthenware comes from the ground. So just like kli cheres becomes tameh, so too glass becomes tameh. They're both from the ground. Right? Elamayatos, and I want to ask an obvious question. If that's the case, and we're comparing glass to cheres, to earthenware, Elamayatos, let's say l'entire mikvah. If that's the case, then you should not be able to dip a glass in a mikvah. Why? Because cheres, as we know, if cheres becomes tameh, there's only one way to make cheres not tameh, and that's to smash it and break it up and redo it. Right? That's the only way cheres loses its tumah status. So if that's the case, so how can we say glass you can toivel in a mikvah? Right? That means it's not like cheres. Alamatan, why is it that we learn? These are the things that would potentially, we are on Tes Vav Amud Beis, a little past the 2 dots. Okay? Alamatan, why is it that we learned in the Mishnah? These are the things that could potentially have a chatzitza on kelim, meaning you can't have, when you toivel in kelim, you can't have anything on there that's foreign. So hazefes, pitch, v'hamor, and myrrh, whatever that is exactly, b'kli zchuches, on glass. So if you have pitch or this other thing more on glass, so that's a chatzitza. So clearly you see that you take glass and you put it into the mikvah. right? So that means it's not like kli cheres. So Gemara answers, it's, for example, we're talking about where you made a hole in the glass and you sealed up the hole with lead. Everything goes what was on the base of the utensil. And since this utensil will not work unless it has metal in it, so therefore it has the status of a metal kli, not a glass kli, and therefore you could toivel it. But theoretically it would be fully glass, and in a chanami you would not be able to toivel it in a mikvah. The Tanya, we learned in the Raisa, a glass kli that you made a hole in it and you put Aver, what did I say it was? Lead. Say lead? What? Lead into it. Amar Rav Shimon Gamliel, Rameir, Matar Chacham Matar. Rameir says it's tameh, Chacham say it's tar. Yeah? Okay, so now, so parenthetically, what we can learn out from this, it's also a very common question for those of you that have mugs that have metal on the inside and plastic on the outside, or plastic on the inside, metal on the outside. So, or those baby spoons that have metal on the inside and then it's plastic on the outside. All those type of things, do those have a din of metal, or they have a din of plastic? In which case they don't need tefillah, right? We didn't get yet to the why plastic should need tefillah, right? So basically,
what's called a kli? Is it what comes in contact with the object or with the food?
That's exactly the machlokes between Rameir and
Right.
Chachamim. Whether you go buster the base of it or does it go with just what's in the metal? The halacha lemaisa will machmer both ways. As long as there's metal involved in the kli, we say you should toivel it at least without a bracha. But that's part of the machlokes. Okay, so fine. So now the Gemara is saying that right now the Gemara.
What about a kli that's like completely surrounded with silicone?
Same thing. If the base of it inside is metal, and if you would remove that metal, you won't have a kli, then you got to toivel it without a bracha, right? But that would be based on this machlokes base. No pun intended there, because it depends on what the base is. But yes, that's what it is. Fine. So that's it. So the Gemara is right now saying that yes, theoretically it was just a pure glass kli. Mikva would not work. You'd have to melt it down.
Even though the metal never touches it?
Even though the metal doesn't touch it, yeah. Push comes to shove, we paskin that it would not be a problem, but because tefillas kem is an easy thing to do, so we want to be out to all the shitas. So therefore, we tell us to do it without a bracha. Elamayata, then adding more continues. If that's the case, loyli tameh gavon, it should not become tameh on that from the outside. Alama tanan kli cheres ukli neser tumosan shava mi. I'm sorry, kli cheres ukli neser. Earthenware kalim and neser. There's some sort of Rashi says it's some sort of white dirt, something from the ground that's white. Tumas and shava, their tumah is equal. Mitamin, they make something tummy. Umitamin me avirein, they become tummy in the airspace. Meaning, Klicher says it has a interesting din to it, which is that if a sheretz, let's say, dangles itself from the ceiling, and it just goes into the airspace of the kli, right? But it never actually touches the kli. So by kli cheres and kli neser, that kli is going to become tameh. That's one thing. And they also become tameh from the outside. But they don't. Meaning, if it gets touched from the outside, they become tameh. But they don't become tameh. Well, Rashi has a little different lashon here. They don't become tummy from the outside. And when you break it, it makes a tar, right? So these are all halachas that says by kli cheres and kli neser. Now, one of the cases here on the outside is that basically if you have a kli, right, and then next to it, it has another section of kli. I don't know exactly what you would call it. You got this is the kli of cheres, and then on the outside you got another kli attached, and the sheretz falls into the outside there, right? So it would become tameh even from just falling into the outside, and the outside cavity would then make the inside cavity tameh. Either way, it says this by kli neser, kli cheres, hu du tumas and shava, al midi achrini lai. But anything else is not going to have this status, which means glass doesn't have it. Meaning, basically, what we're saying is that in this Mishnah it says kli cheres and kli neser. right? Why didn't the Mishnah also say kli zchuchis? If kli zchuchis is the same thing as glass is the same thing as earthenware, so then this Mishnah should say glass also, right? So I mean, since if you break them, there's a way to fix it. Therefore, we look at it like it's metal. So now what did the Gemara just say with that? Meaning, if you break glass, right, is there a way to fix it? Earthenware, there's nothing to do to fix it, I don't think. Maybe you can grind it back up, I don't know. But glass, if it breaks, what can you do? Melt it back down, make yourself a new glass, right? So that's metal's the same thing. You can take any sort of metal, melt it down, and make it into a new kli. So therefore, we're saying glass gets the status of metal, right? So that's why it has that elamiyata yachsulu tumasin. Okay, yeah. So that's what we're saying. So now that's where Yeshua Marchuk. This is where you have a kasha. If that's the case, plastic has the same thing, right? Plastic can be melted down, and you can create a new kli from it.
That's what's recycling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but who says plastic is makabel tumah to begin with?
It should good for enochanami. Maybe it's plastic is not makabel tumah, right? Neither should glass because it comes from the ground, right?
But so does metal.
So does metal. Yeah,
right.
So yeah, so metal's makabel tumah.
Right. But that's the issue of plastic. Plastic is all man-made.
Plastic's not man-made. Plastic comes from oil.
Since when does something coming from the ground make it not makabel tumah? Klicharis is makabel tumah.
No, it becomes a kli. It becomes a kli. What are you saying?
Okay. But who says that plastic ever has the din of a kli?
Plastic does not have a din of makabel tumah. That's the way we were passing. Plastic does not have. Right, but for tfilas kalim, I'm saying, not for anything else. For tfilas kalim, right? Okay. So tfilas kalim. So the Minchas Yitzchak held that you do have to toivel plastic. And Rav Pam, I heard this from Rav Shiva and Rav Yisrael Reisman. He said that Rav Pam taka toiveled plastic because of this, because you can melt it down.
Maybe it lacks chashivas.
What?
It lacks chashivas.
Depends on what kind of plastic.
We're not talking about this. We're not talking about this. This, of course, doesn't need. We're talking about hard plastic that you use.
Nice plastic is chashiv.
Yeah, no, hard. We're talking about hard plastic.
And these 9x13s, where do they run?
The what?
The 9x13s, where do they run? There's always a shiloh if they should tovel it. They not. So where does
right,
it?
So most folks can say you don't have to tovel because
we do use it as chashiv. Some people put it.
No, but because it's gonna after you use it a bunch of times.
Disposable.
It's gonna decay. Right.
But Yaakov, it doesn't really have the characteristics like earthenware because it doesn't come from the ground. To what degree is it like metal? The fact that you could fashion it. So what?
What do you mean?
You could refashion. The fact that it can be refashioned is enough of a reason to consider it like metal.
That's what the Gemara says.
Same properties.
That's what the Gemara says.
The Gemara is just saying that's why it might take on a characteristic of metal. It's not saying that that's the reason why you should toivel it.
But the Gemara in Avodah Zarah says this is the reason why you have to toivel it.
It's the same exact properties.
The Gemara is right now saying why you should toivel it, or there's a reason why it might be somewhat
No. This Gemara in Avodah Zarah that the Gemara here in Shabbos is quoting is referring to why you have to toivel it. Yes. But we're telling it here to the din of tumah and tara. We're saying that it has to do with tumah and tara. But that's the Gemara of Avodah Zarah. See on Ayin Hema Beis, that's what the Gemara of Avodah Zarah is referring to. Right? Yeah. So anyway, I'm saying that's the sugya that has to do with this. So then Gemara continues. So kli matras has a special din. So normally what happens with a kli, that's tameh, you bust it up, it loses its tumah, right? But metal, if you form it back into a kli, then it gets back its tumah status, right? So if that's the case, glass should be the same thing. If that's the case, then glass should go back to its old tumah, if once you make it back into glass. The Tanan, we have a Mishnah, kli matras pshutein mekablein umikablein tamein. Kli matchas if it's pashut, meaning if it's just a straight piece, umikablein, or if it becomes a kli kibul, meaning it becomes actually a utensil that can accept things, tamein, they become tameh. Nishberu, if they get broken, taru, they become tar. Chazru ba'asamehen kelim, if you go back and you make them kelim, chazru tumas and yishona, it goes back to the original tumah. Dilu gabi kli schuches, but by glass, now we learn kli eitz, a kli ar, a kli that's made out of wood, a kli that's made out of leather, kli etzem, a kli made out of bone, a kli schuches, and a kli made out of glass. Pshutein tahirin, if it's pashut and it's not, it doesn't have any place, it's not like made into a spoon or to a cup, meaning it doesn't have anything to accept anything in, then the pshutein is tahir, umikablein tamein. But if it has a place to be makabel, like it's a spoon or a cup, etc., nishbru taharu, then it said they become tameh. Nishbru, but it becomes broken, they become tar. Chazav asamhan kelim mikabel tumah mikanu laba. If you go back and make them into new kelim, then they were going to be makabel tumah from here forward, which means mikanu laba in lemafrei aloi. It's going to have the potential to become tameh again, but it's not going to get back its original tumah status. So you see that glass is different than metal, meaning again, because metal will get back its original tumah once you fix it, and glass will not. So we answer loi tumas kli schuches derabanan, but tumah yishana derabanan. The tumah of kli schuches is miderabanan. Glass is clearly a derabanan that it becomes tameh, and the tumah yishana is also derabanan, meaning midaraisa kli schuches doesn't become tameh. And midaraisa, a kli that gets fixed also doesn't become tumah. It doesn't get back its tumah. But tumah deraisa chisu b'rabbanon. When you're talking about a tumah of deraisa, so then the rabbanon put their words onto one deraisa. Tumah b'tumah derabbanon lo yichisu l'rabbanon. Lo yichisu rabbanon tumah. Yeah. So if it's two derabbanons, then we're not gonna combine two derabbanons to be machmir. Right. So again, if it's a kli that's metal, so Rabbanan are going to put the gzeira on and say that if you fixed it, then it's going to get back its original tumah, right? But we're not going to do that which is a Rabbanan, and say it on a second Rabbanan, which is klei schuches, right? Fine. So what it says, so pshutein mi'ali tameh, but at least the pshut, the pashut, meaning a glass that doesn't have any klei kibul, like it's not a spoon, it's just a straight piece of glass, should however become tameh pshute kli matras deraisa ninu, because pshute kli matras is deraisa, right? So meaning we're saying if it's pshute kli matras, then it is a deraisa. So if that's the case, then the rabbanon, if it's pshute kli schuches, then you should have to make a gezeira on it, because it's a one rabbanon a deraisa. So Gemara answers, and this is a klal throughout Tumah and Tara. Avdi Rabbanan Hakera, the Rabbanan made a heka kiyechi the lister for laya truma v'kachim, so that you shouldn't end up being sirif truma and kachim. Meaning, a lot of times when the Chachamim made gezeira, right? Normally, when Chachamim made a gezeira, you have nothing to lose. The Chachamim made a gezeira, and so we end up being machmir. But when you make gezeiras by tumah, so then what could happen is that you end up being makel by saying, oh, this glass is tameh, and then it touches truma and kachim, and you end up burning the truma and the kachim, which is usher to do unless they were legitimately tameh, right? And they're not legitimately tameh because they're only tameh with the rabbanon, not with the raisa. So the Rebbe Chachamim didn't want to make it exactly like a tumah of the raisa, so that people would remember that 1 second it's tumah d'rabbanan, and you shouldn't burn the kachim because of that. Okay, fine. So that's what we're saying. So far we're saying that it's similar to metal. Rav Ashi Yomar right on the base now. Rav Ashi Yomar lo'olam l'kli cheres dama. Really, it is similar to kli cheres, and it has nothing to do with metal. Oh, we had a kasha that it shouldn't become tameh from the outside. So we answer no. Glass, since the inside looks like the outside, so therefore it will. Meaning, right? Meaning you can see the food you can see whatever's inside glass, right? So Rashi says, so therefore, the reason why it could become tameh from the outside is because it has a special quality that from the outside looks exactly like the inside. So therefore, we treat the outside as if the thing is in the inside. Okay, which is actually another interesting thing, because in Avos the Rav Nosson, when it talks about glass, so one of the things it says about glass, that it seems that the Avos the Rav Nosson, which is similar to Pirkei Avos, learns out a few musar things from glass. One of them is that toichai kibari. It's inside, it's like it's outside, meaning there's no fooling around with glass. Right?
So it seems like, according to Rashi, it's a completely new halacha that we've come up with when it comes to glass, that nowhere else will you have that. There's no makam, like earthenware doesn't have such dinim, metal doesn't have such dinim. It seems like the Rabbanan are almost like creating their own tumah dika halachas when it comes to glass, based on this surah.
No, what we're saying really it has the din of cheres, right? We're saying it has a din of cheres.
But cheres doesn't have such a din.
Doesn't become tummy from the outside, right? And glass does. So we're saying, no, glass is different. Glass can even though glass is like cheres, but glass will become tummy from the outside, since there's no difference for glass between the outside and the inside.
Where is he coming? Where does that halacha? Where is that halacha stem from? There's no makar for that anywhere. There's no kli that is such a din anywhere in Shas.
What do you mean? No, why? What a kli
that you could be mitame straight through like that?
No, isn't
even
any
though it's
kli,
like
every kli like that, just not kli cheres?
But he's saying it is really like a kli cheres.
He's saying it's like a kli cheres, right? Now, kli cheres does not become tummy from the outside, right? That's what we said on Amud Aleph, right? So glass should also.
It still would, right? But he's saying it still would and be like a kli cheres when it goes over it. It's going to be mitame.
Right. So because glass has a little bit. Glass is like cheres, but it has its own quality also, that it's toichei
right.
kibar.
That's what I'm saying. That's not a halacha anywhere you see in tumah.
I think you do, just not by cheres. No?
Where else would you say such a din of toichei kibar by tumah?
Where else would you say such a thing? Toichei kibar?
Metal, we say such a din? Okay, I don't know.
No, I think metal would become tummy now. No, something touches metal on the outside. It's not going to become tummy? No, something touches metal on the outside. It's not going to become tummy.
It's because of the outside, not because of... okay, fine. I don't know.
No, that's what I'm saying. Cheres has a unique thing that Rashi says. It says el toichai. So therefore, the tumah has to go from the inside. From the outside, it doesn't work. But I think that's exclusive to cheres.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Shimon Mashetach tikkun ksuba leisha. Because of tumah kli matras. Right. So we say Shimon Mashetach was masakin a ksuba for a woman, and he was geyser tumah on kli matras. Kli matras raiseninu. Right. Kli matras. Shimon Mashetach was the one that said metal becomes tummy. That says in the Torah beferish. Tichsiv ach es hazav es akesav es achayshes es abdil es afaris etc. etc. All the how many types of metals is there? 7, 5, whatever it is. So, how can you say Shimon Mashetach is the one that said metal becomes tummy? It's a beferish pasuk in the Torah. So we say lo nitzrucha elu l'tumah yishana. No, what he meant is for this thing that we just said about tumah yishana, the old tumah. Domer Rav Yehuda Marav ma'aseh b'shel Tzion hamalka. Right, there was a story with Tzion hamalka. Sha'asasa mishta lebna v'nitnu kol keila. She was making a wedding for her son, and all her kalim somehow became tummy. V'shavrasan, and they broke all the kalim in order to make them tar. V'nisnesan l'tzaref, and they gave them all to a how do you call it, a tzaref, a guy, a smelter, Rischon, and he ground them up. A blacksmith, yeah. The Rischon, good, and he made them back into a vasim and kelim chadashim. He melted them down and he made them into new chadashim. V'amru chachamim yachzru tumas and yishon. And the chacham, so this Pastia and Malka had a good scam going. Everything became tummy. She busted it up, gave it to the blacksmith. He recreated it, and she said, "Okay, new kli, everything should be fine." And the chacham said, "No go." Right? Shimon Mashetach made a gezerah that if when you refashion the metal, then it gets back its old tumah. My time mishum geder mechatos nogaba. It's become a geder of mechatos. right? So, because what does that mean? Because basically, mechatos, you have to wait a week, right? So nobody would wait a week. Something becomes tameh, right? Meaning, when do you do mechatos? Something becomes tameh mace. So you have to wait a week, and then you sprinkle it with the ashes from the mechatos, right? From the how do you call it?
Paraduma.
Paraduma, thank you very much. You think I should remember? It was 2 weeks ago, right? Oh, we didn't lane it, so maybe. Anyway, so you have to sprinkle it. So we're afraid that if you're going to do this new shtick, and anytime something becomes tummy, any metal cleaver becomes tummy, all you're going to do is bust it and then fix it. So then nobody's going to ever need the mechadas anymore. So Mamela Shemar made a gzeira and said you can't do this scam anymore. And if you want to try this scam, we're going to make the original tumah come back. Right? Fine. By the way, we do implement this, right? If somehow you have an electronic device that's metal, right? And you don't want to toggle it. What's the problem, parrots?
I said, where's Avi's Suntag?
There you go, Avi Suntag, right? So the Keurig machines, if you want to be really frum, so the best way to do it is to make it broken, and therefore it loses its status of a kli. It's not exactly al tumah tara. It loses its status of a kli, and then you fix it back together. You put it back together, and then it's a yid making the kli. Then it doesn't need tefillas kelim. So it's a similar thing here, but here we don't want to allow it because then they're just going to eliminate the whole mechatos. Saying says, this works according to the Mandomer that says that they didn't say this gezerah for all tumas, only for tumah mace, right? So shen elo tumas mace bavad amru, so sharper then it fits. Elo Mandomer l'chala tumas amru, but if according to Mandomer it says that any tumah that becomes tummy in metal and you break the metal and then you refix it, it's gonna get back its status, even let's say tameh sheretz. So what's the reason? Why they make the gzeira? Meaning, if you say it's exclusive to tumas mace, so then we understand why they said the original tumah comes back. But if it's referring to other tumas, then why are we concerned if you bust it up and fix it again? There's nothing to lose, right? So Michael Amema, what are you gonna shaber elamandam or l'chala tumas amru? Michael Amema, according to Mandomer, it says that we say this then by all tumas. So what are you going to say? We're afraid that you're not going to make the hole with enough to make it tar, right? Meaning we said way back, I think we said it was in Shabbos or in Brachas, I don't even remember. But we said that the size of the hole that you have to make a kli to make it not usable is that hole has to be the size of a pomegranate. So we're afraid that you're not going to make that hole big enough, and therefore it really never lost its tumah status. So because of that, we just said you can't, that this breaking the metal kli doesn't work. So that's one teretz. That's a bias teretz. We're afraid that people are going to think that, oh, you just bust it, and then you fix it, and then it goes right back to being tar, and then people are going to think the same thing. Okay, so if you tar in a mikva, then it becomes mutter right away. Right? Even though you have to wait. If you go with a mikvah, you have to wait until at least nightfall, like we've been learning. Yeah, so those are the two terutzim. So my benai, what's the difference between these two terutzim? You flatten out the kli totally. That would be the nafkamina. I mean, according to Abaye, who was afraid that you didn't make the hole big enough, but if you flatten the whole thing out and you beat the thing up till the mamish doesn't look like a kli at all, then for sure it's gonna lose its tumah status. But according to Rava, who's afraid that you're just going to think that even when you table in mikvah, it instantly becomes mutter, you don't have to wait for the night. So then even if you flatten it out totally, it's still not going to have, you're not going to be able to do this. Fine. So what's the next case of the 18? So let's say, so again, we had this before, but let's just give a little bit of hakdama, right? So we know that you have mikvah water, and if you put in, mikvah water has to be straight rainwater, but if you put in mayim shuvim, water that accumulated in a cup or a pot or whatever it is, then that will make the mikvah puzzle. Now the question is what type of water is considered mayim shuvim? It has to be water that you actually want to accumulate in the cup. If it just happens to accumulate a cup, then it's going to be a machlokes. What's the other case? If you take kalim and you put it under the pipe to get the rainwater, right now again, this is the way they got the water into the mikvahs. Basically, the way our mikvahs do it is you have a pipe, you have the roof, and the water runs off the roof into a pipe, and the pipe runs down into the mikvah. But what happens if you're afraid that the pipe has a leak, which is it might be a whole different issue, but your pipe has a leak, and you take some kalim and you put it under the pipe, and you let the water drip into that pot.
Oh, we could just scoop up snow and throw it on your wife in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't gotten over that, Maisa.
Now, let me tell you, I could send you the pictures of it too. I still have them. The guy sent me pictures.
No pictures from.
No, pictures of the mikvah. Anyways, okay. If you put kalim under the pipe to be makabel the runoff of the make shamim, or if it leaks, it doesn't make a difference whether it's big pots or small pots, whether it's stoneware or it's made from the dirt, I'd love to know who uses kli glalim. Kli glalim is made out of dung. Kalim made out of dung. So I guess that was the thing back then. Either way, if you use what?
Africans use it.
Okay, maybe. So anyways, if you take any of these kalim and you let water go into it, paislan is a mikvah. And then that water goes into the mikvah, then you make the whole mikvah puzzle. Whether you purposely put the pot under the pipe to catch the rain, or whether you just forgot the pipe there. That's what Beis Shammai says. Meaning it makes no difference whether you specifically put it there or whether you forgot it there. But Beis Hillel says if you forgot it there and it filled up with water, then that's okay because you didn't consciously want that water to become drawn water. So they counted, and there were more people voting for Beis Shammai than for Beis Hillel, like we discussed. That's why some say they made that. That's why the halach was like Beis Shammai, because that day he had most of the votes. But Beis Shammai is maida that if you just forgot a pot, not under a pipe, but if you got it in the yard and then it rained and some water went in there, Beis Shammai is maida that you can add that water to the mikveh and will not make it puzzle. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi says no, the machlokes is still there. So, and it didn't change. There was no Beis Shammai agreeing to anything, right? Amri that Rabbi Shashi says by Bei Rav, they said that if he put the pots out there outside when it was cloudy, so clearly he was expecting it to rain. That means he was happy that the water went into the pot. So then everybody would agree that the water is going to be tameh and it's going to make the mikvah puzzle if you added it. The shas pizar oven, but if you put the pots out in your yard when the clouds separated, meaning clearly you didn't put the pots out there with expecting to get any water in it, Tivri alcohol tahir, and everybody's going to hold that's tar because you clearly did not want the water going to that pot. Like the machlokes is where you put it when the skies got cloudy, and then the clouds separated because of and then they came cloudy again. Once it became uncloudy, so then his original machshava was batal, and we look at it like he put it there when it was not cloudy, and therefore it's no problem. We say was his original machshava was not batal, meaning he put it there when it was cloudy. That means he wanted it to rain in there, even though in the interim it became uncloudy. We still say it goes with his original machshava. Fine, okay. So that's the Bei Rav's way of learning the machlokes. So according to Rabbi Yossi, who says the machlokes is still in its place, meaning they're still disagreeing, and therefore they were not maida, so therefore we don't it should not be one of the 18. So we're missing one of the 18 because he says the machlokes is still there, meaning they're still arguing about it. meaning that the Beis Hillel did not agree to Beis Shammai. So he should have one less of the 18. So he said, no, there was a different one of the 18. He adds on his own one of the 18, which is that any kusi girl is considered a nida from when they're a baby. We look at any kusi girl that they're nidas from babies, right? Because they were not goyrus. Potentially a little baby could see blood, which taka does happen nowadays. It does happen that a little baby girl can sometimes see blood in the diaper, and that would make her into a nida. And the kusim didn't go with that, meaning regularly we do go with that. So then they would say, oh, she saw blood, and therefore she's a nida. But the kusim didn't go with that, so they made a gzeira that all kusi girls are considered nidas from when they're arisasa, means when they're in the cradle. So that's the way he learns the 18. All right, that is all for tonight. I wish you all well.
All right, have a good night.
All right, everybody. Peace out.
Thank you.
Yeah, now I got to catch up on all these texts.
Mordecai, how you feeling?
Mordecai's on?